You may not see it yet, but I want you to know today that God is preparing to surprise you. You might be in a season of waiting, wondering when your breakthrough will come. But hear me today, something extraordinary is about to happen in your life. There are signs all around you that point to the divine surprise God is about to deliver. It's not by accident, and it's not by your own power, but by the hand of God. When God is preparing to surprise you, He first begins to shift things in your environment. You might notice doors that once seemed shut begin to crack open. You may feel as though you're in a season of stagnation, but the truth is, God is aligning things behind the scenes. Even when things appear to be stuck, God is quietly working, positioning the right people, bringing you into the right circumstances, and setting you up for a greater purpose. You must remember that the delays, the challenges, and the setbacks are not signs of failure. They are stepping stones to the moment where God will surprise you. Another sign that God is about to surprise you is that you begin to feel an unease in your spirit. You can't quite explain it, but something inside of you says, this is not the end. You may be tired. You may have faced disappointment after disappointment, but there's a fresh energy, a new vision stirring inside of you. This is not a coincidence. God is preparing you for something bigger than what your natural eyes can see. He is getting you ready for the manifestation of His promises in your life. You might also notice that there are people around you who seem to be going through their own struggles and challenges. Yet in the midst of all of this, you find yourself at peace. This is the peace that surpasses understanding. It's not a peace that comes from your own ability to manage situations, but it's the peace that comes from knowing that God is in control. When God is about to surprise you, He will give you a peace that transcends your circumstances. Even when the world is in chaos, you stand firm knowing that something amazing is just ahead. There are times when it seems like the promises of God are delayed, but I want you to understand that God's timing is perfect. The waiting period isn't a punishment, it's preparation. You may not be where you thought you'd be by now, but you are exactly where you need to be to receive what God is about to release into your life. God doesn't need a long time to do great things. His timing is swift, and His surprise is coming at the right moment. And here's another sign: God often begins to speak to you in ways you've never experienced before. He will begin to give you new ideas, new dreams, and new visions that seem bigger than what you're capable of. It might even scare you because it doesn't look like anything you've seen before, but don't back down. When God begins to stretch your thinking, it's because He's preparing you for something that will require you to grow into it. Your thoughts, your plans, your mindset must expand to receive the unexpected surprise He is about to drop in your life. There's a stirring in the atmosphere. People may not understand the full extent of what God is doing in your life right now, but deep down, you know something good is coming. God is about to surprise you in a way that no man can take credit for. You will look back at this season and marvel at how He brought you through, how He elevated you, how He opened doors that seemed locked, how He did things that you never imagined. This is the season where God is preparing to blow your mind. Stay faithful, stay patient, stay alert, because your surprise is on the way. It's not just a blessing, it's a manifestation of everything God has been preparing you for. Stay in expectation. Something big is coming and is going to exceed your greatest imagination. You may feel like you're in a place where nothing is moving. You might be wondering, God, where are you? Why does it seem like everything around me is stagnant? But let me tell you today, even when you can't see it, God is working behind the scenes. His hand is constantly at work, positioning everything in your life for what He has prepared for you. You may not feel it, you may not see it, but God is orchestrating events in your favor. He's aligning people, creating opportunities, and setting things up in your life in ways you can't even imagine. When God is getting ready to bless you, it's often in the moments when everything seems quiet or still that He is working the most. You may feel like you're stuck, like you're not moving forward, but that's simply the preparation stage. It's like the seed that's buried in the ground. You can't see the roots growing, but under the surface, something powerful is taking place. God is planting something deep within you. He's teaching you patience, endurance, and faithfulness. He's working to prepare your heart for the greatness that's coming. Behind the scenes, God is also connecting you with the right people at the right time. You might be thinking that your connections are insignificant or that you're not meeting the right people. But God is creating divine connections, crossing paths with people who will open doors you never imagined. Sometimes the people who will help you reach your next level are being prepared by God before you even meet them. Trust that God's timing is perfect. And even when you can't see what's happening, He's making things happen for you. He's moving things around, aligning your environment to match your destiny. This is why you need to be careful not to despise the quiet moments, the moments when you feel like you're in limbo. God is positioning your heart, your mind, and your spirit for the breakthrough He is about to release. You may feel like you're standing still, but the truth is everything is moving. The ground is shifting, and soon you'll begin to see the fruit of what God has been working on behind the scenes. The pieces will start falling into place, and when it happens, you'll look back and realize that all the waiting was for a reason. So don't lose heart. Even when you can't see it, know that God is at work, preparing something great for you. There are times in life when you feel like everything is at a standstill, as if your dreams and desires are not moving forward. You may even start to question whether things will ever happen for you. You see others around you progressing, but your own progress feels delayed. However, I want to remind you that delays are not denials. They are not signs of failure. In fact, delays are part of God's perfect plan to prepare you for what He's about to bring into your life. God's timing is never late, but it is always perfect. What seems like a delay in your eyes is actually a divine setup, a preparation phase for the extraordinary surprise God is about to release into your life. Think about it this way: the farmer doesn't plant a seed and expect it to sprout immediately. There is a process of waiting, nurturing, and growing that takes place under the surface before the seed ever breaks through the soil. In the same way, God is working behind the scenes, developing you, strengthening your faith, and aligning the circumstances for your breakthrough. When it feels like nothing is happening, trust that God is preparing you for something far greater than what you could imagine. Every moment of delay is not wasted. It is a time for you to grow, to refine your character, and to build your trust in God. It is in these seasons of waiting that God works on your inner man. He builds your perseverance, your patience, and your ability to handle the blessing when it comes. You may feel frustrated in the waiting, but understand this: the bigger the blessing, the longer the preparation. God wants you to be ready, not just externally, but internally as well. You might have the talent, but He's preparing your heart to sustain that blessing. You might have the skills, but He's preparing your spirit to walk in humility when the time comes. And let's not forget that while you're waiting, God is also working on the environment around you. There are people, opportunities, and circumstances that are being positioned in your favor. You may not see it, but God is moving things in your life behind the scenes, under the surface, so that everything falls into place at the perfect time. What seems like a delay is really God moving things around, setting you up for something bigger than you can even imagine. So don't be discouraged in the waiting. Don't think that just because you're in a season of delay, nothing is happening. In fact, God is doing some of His most significant work during those moments. Trust His timing. Trust that He knows exactly when you're ready. The wait is not punishment, it's preparation. When the time comes, you will look back and see that the waiting was worth it. And when that moment of surprise arrives, you'll understand that it came at the perfect time, exactly when you were ready to receive it. There comes a moment in every believer's life when they begin to sense something stirring deep within them. It's not something that can easily be explained, but it's something that you feel in the quiet moments of your soul. It's that inner restlessness, that divine unease that tells you that something new is about to unfold in your life. You may not know exactly what it is, but there is a fresh energy, a fresh expectation rising within you. This is one of the clearest signs that God is about to surprise you. When God is preparing something incredible for your life, He often stirs your spirit before the breakthrough ever happens. This stirring is not just about an emotional high or a fleeting feeling. It's deeper than that. It's God awakening your heart to the possibilities that lie ahead. It's a divine call to shift your perspective and open your heart to the new season He is ushering you into. God is not only preparing the circumstances for your breakthrough, He is preparing you. He is making your spirit sensitive to His voice, to His direction, and to the plans He has for you. This stirring within you is the divine signal that change is on the horizon. You might have been through seasons of dryness, times when you felt disconnected or distant from your purpose. But now something is different. You feel alive again. You feel purpose calling you forward. There's a renewed sense of hope in your spirit. You might even feel a surge of passion for things that you had once let go of or put on hold. It's like a fire that reignites in your heart, a flame of possibility that stirs you to dream again, to believe again, to move forward in faith. This is God working within you, aligning your heart with His greater plans. Sometimes when God is about to do something new, He starts by changing your desires. You might suddenly find yourself wanting things you never thought about before, big things, things that seem beyond your current reach. These new desires are not just random, they are seeds that God is planting in your heart, dreams that He is stirring in your spirit. Don't be afraid of them, embrace them. These desires are a sign that God is expanding your vision and preparing you for the great things He has in store. You may also notice that your confidence is rising. You are starting to believe in yourself again, not because of your own strength or abilities, but because you can feel God's hand upon you. It's a quiet assurance that He is with you, that He is in control, and that He will bring to pass everything He has promised. The stirring in your spirit is not just a random feeling, it's a prophetic whisper that God is getting ready to bring you into a season of greatness. During this time, you may also feel more sensitive to the Holy Spirit's guidance. It's as though He's speaking to you more clearly than before, giving you direction, wisdom, and insight that you didn't have before. This heightened awareness is God preparing you for what's coming next. He's teaching you to trust His voice, to rely on His wisdom, and to move in faith when He leads you to take steps toward your breakthrough. This stirring within you is not a sign of confusion, but of divine preparation. God is getting you ready for something that is about to burst forth in your life. So when you feel that restlessness, when you feel that inner excitement and passion rising within you, don't ignore it. Don't push it aside. Recognize it as the signal that God is stirring the waters, that He is beginning to move on your behalf. He's preparing you for something greater than what you've seen so far. And as you follow that stirring, you will see how God's plan for you unfolds in ways that will surprise and astound you. When God is about to surprise you, one of the most profound things that happen is that He gives you peace, a peace that doesn't make sense to the world around you. It's a peace that transcends your circumstances, a peace that guards your heart and mind even when the storms of life are raging. You see, in the middle of chaos, when everything around you seems to be falling apart, God's peace becomes a sign that something powerful is on the horizon. You might be facing trials, battles, and setbacks, but there is a deep sense of calm that settles in your spirit. This peace isn't the absence of problems, but rather the presence of God in the midst of them. When the world tells you to be anxious, when the circumstances scream out for you to be fearful, God's peace says, I've got you. Rest in me. It is the kind of peace that surpasses human understanding, because in the natural, it doesn't make sense to have peace when everything is chaotic. But God's peace is not based on what's happening externally. It's rooted in His faithfulness, His promises, and His unchanging nature. It's a supernatural peace that comes directly from the heart of God, and it's a clear sign that He is working on your behalf. This peace is a signal that God is preparing to do something incredible in your life, something that will not only surprise you, but will cause you to stand in awe of His goodness. In the moments when you should be panicking, when you should be losing hope, instead you find yourself standing firm with a quiet confidence. You're not worried about how things will turn out because you know that God is in control. This peace that guards your heart is the kind of peace that will carry you through the storm. It's the kind of peace that allows you to rest while God fights your battles. It allows you to be still in the knowledge that God's plan is greater than your current reality. Even when things don't look right, you are confident that God is working in the background, making everything align according to His perfect will. This peace is not just about the absence of fear. It's about a quiet assurance that no matter what happens, God is with you and for you. It's a peace that speaks louder than the noise of negativity and doubt. When you have that peace, it becomes a testimony to others of the faithfulness of God. People will wonder how you can remain so calm when everything seems to be falling apart. And the answer is simple. It's not you. It's God. He's the one who is holding you together, and His peace becomes a reflection of His presence in your life. Sometimes when God is about to surprise you, He first gives you peace to settle your heart, because He knows that you will need to be anchored in Him for what's coming next. The surprises that God has for you are often beyond your current level of understanding. They require faith, trust, and a steady heart to receive them. That peace is God's way of preparing your spirit, getting you ready to receive what He has in store. He wants you to be emotionally and spiritually stable, grounded in His peace, so when the breakthrough comes, you will be able to steward it with grace, humility, and wisdom. So if you're facing turbulence right now, and yet you feel this unexplainable peace, recognize that it's not just a temporary feeling. It's a divine sign that God is about to move in your life in a powerful way. You are on the verge of something extraordinary. The peace you feel is God's reminder that He is working, He is present, and He is about to surprise you with a blessing that will overwhelm your heart with joy and gratitude. Keep walking in peace, because it's a sign that you are exactly where God wants you to be. And soon you will see his miraculous power unfold before your eyes. When God is about to surprise you, he often begins to create opportunities where you once saw none. What you may have considered as dead ends or places of limitation, God turns into open doors, pathways, and opportunities that were always meant for you, but you could not see them before. The shift begins to happen when you stop focusing on what you don't have or what you've lost and start looking at what God is positioning you for. These opportunities don't always appear in the way you expect. They might seem small at first or even unconventional, but these are the very moments when God is setting you up for your breakthrough. Opportunities often come disguised as challenges or difficulties. It's easy to dismiss them because they don't look like what we thought a blessing should look like. But remember, God doesn't always give you what you expect. He gives you what you need, what will grow you, what will take you higher. Just because an opportunity looks different from what you imagine doesn't mean it's not from God. It may come in the form of a new job, a difficult relationship, a change in location, or even a setback. But these are the very things that God uses to prepare you for greater things. Opportunities often require you to stretch, to grow, and to step out in faith beyond your comfort zone. That's where the transformation happens. When God is about to surprise you, he opens doors that no one can shut. Sometimes you may feel like you're on the outside looking in, but God is orchestrating circumstances to position you exactly where he needs you to be. He is aligning people, resources, and situations to open doors for you. These doors may require you to take risks, to believe in the impossible, or to trust that God's favor will make a way where there seems to be no way. And when he opens those doors, you won't have to force your way through them. God's favor will make it clear that the opportunity is for you, and no one can stop it. When the time comes, you'll walk right into the opportunity that was prepared just for you. But you also need to be prepared. Sometimes opportunities don't just appear, they are waiting for you to take action. The door is open, but you have to have the courage to step through it. You need to be willing to embrace the change, to trust that God has been preparing you for this moment, even if you can't see it yet. The fact that you've been feeling a stirring inside of you, that restlessness, that unease, is God's way of saying, get ready. The time is coming. He has already gone ahead of you, making the crooked places straight, removing obstacles, and setting the stage for your entrance. All you need to do is walk through the door. Opportunities also come at the right time, in God's perfect timing. It might not be the time you expected or even the time you wanted, but it will be exactly the time you needed. God is never early and he is never late. When you're walking in the purpose of God, everything falls into place at the right moment. You might feel like you've missed your chance or that the window is closing, but I assure you, God has a way of creating opportunities even when it seems like all hope is lost. Just when you think there's no way, he opens a door that leads to everything you've been praying for. As God prepares to surprise you, you will see these opportunities unfold before your eyes. And when they come, remember that they are a part of his perfect plan for your life. They are not random. They are divine opportunities crafted with purpose, timing, and divine favor. You are not walking into these opportunities by accident. God has been preparing you all along through your faith, through your perseverance, through your patience, and now he is bringing the opportunities into your life that will lead you into the next chapter of your destiny. Trust his timing. Trust that he is opening the doors that are meant for you. And when those doors open, step through them with boldness and faith, knowing that you are stepping into the blessing and the surprise that God has been preparing for you all along. One of the most profound ways that God prepares to surprise you is by changing your inner circle, shifting the relationships around you. You may notice that people who once seemed to be in your life for the long term may suddenly fall away, or you might find new unexpected connections beginning to form. This is not by chance. It is part of God's divine plan to align you with the right people who will help you fulfill your purpose and walk in the new season that he is ushering you into. When God is preparing you for something extraordinary, he begins to remove the wrong people from your life, those who would hold you back, those who do not align with his purpose for you. Sometimes the people you thought would be with you forever are no longer a part of your story, and this can be painful. But you must understand that not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. There are certain relationships that can only carry you so far, and when it's time for your breakthrough, God will often remove the people who can no longer help you progress. However, just as God removes the wrong people, he also begins to send the right people into your life. These are people who will support you, encourage you, and walk with you into your destiny. These are divine connections, people who will challenge you, stretch you, and inspire you to become the person God has always intended for you to be. You may meet people in unexpected places, or God may reintroduce people from your past who carry wisdom, influence, or resources that you need for the next phase of your life. These relationships won't just be casual, they will be divine appointments. They are people who will contribute to your growth and help you in ways that only God could orchestrate. This shift in relationships can feel like a season of isolation, but it's actually a time of preparation. When God is about to do something great in your life, He needs to surround you with the right people who will stand in agreement with His plan for you. You might feel alone for a while, but that is just God making space for the people He is sending. Trust that He knows who you need and He is aligning them with your future. During this season, it's also important to evaluate the relationships that are already in your life. Are they pushing you closer to your God-given purpose, or are they distracting you from it? Sometimes the people you are closest to may not be bad people, but they may not be the right people for this new season. They may not have the vision, the faith, or the belief that you are going to the next level. God will gently guide you to make the necessary changes in your relationships. It may be difficult to let go of people you've known for a long time, but if they are not helping you grow, they can hinder the plans that God has for you. The connections God is bringing into your life during this season will have a lasting impact. They will not just be for your present moment, but for the destiny He is preparing you for. These people will be there to celebrate your successes, to stand with you through challenges, and to provide counsel when needed. They will be the ones who recognize the hand of God on your life and encourage you to walk boldly in the purpose He has set before you. God's timing in relationships is always perfect. You may feel like you've been abandoned or that people have left you behind, but know that it's God clearing the path for the right people to enter at the right time. He is sending people who will help you fulfill your destiny and walk in the blessings He has prepared for you. So when you begin to notice shifts in your relationships, understand that this is a divine setup. God is aligning you with the people who will be a part of your breakthrough. Trust Him in this process and know that the people He brings into your life are not by accident. They are a part of the surprise that He is preparing for you. As God prepares to surprise you, you will begin to notice an increased sense of spiritual sensitivity. Your intuition will become sharper, and you'll experience a heightened awareness of the Holy Spirit's guidance. You'll begin to see things that others might overlook and hear the still small voice of God speaking to you more clearly than ever before. This spiritual sensitivity is one of the clearest signs that God is about to move in your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. It's like your spiritual senses are being fine-tuned, preparing you to recognize the opportunities, blessings, and breakthroughs that are coming your way. When God is getting ready to surprise you, He draws you closer to Himself. He wants to position you in a place where you are more attuned to His presence, where you can hear His voice with clarity. You may feel a deep stirring in your heart, a sense of urgency or excitement in your spirit, as if God is preparing you for something big. This heightened sensitivity is a reminder that God's timing is unfolding in your life, and He wants you to be ready to step into it. You may find that your prayer life becomes more intense, your desire to study the Word deepens, and your heart becomes more open to receiving His instructions. This sensitivity is not only to hear God's voice, but also to discern His leading in every aspect of your life. In moments where you once might have been uncertain or confused, now you will feel a strong pull in a certain direction. You'll begin to recognize that God is leading you through doors that will open to new opportunities. You may feel the Holy Spirit whispering, "This is the path," or "This is the door." You will have a knowing, a peace, and an assurance that this is the way forward. Even when the world around you is uncertain, it's as though God is saying, "I've been preparing you, and now you are ready to see the signs of my presence in your life." Sometimes God speaks to us through subtle nudges and unease in your spirit when something isn't right, or a strong sense of peace when everything aligns perfectly. You will begin to sense God's presence more strongly, and this will lead you to act in faith. In these moments, you will realize that you don't need to understand everything logically or have all the answers. God's presence will be enough to guide you. You will find that your decisions become easier because they are aligned with His will. This spiritual sensitivity will also give you the ability to recognize the work of God in your circumstances. You'll begin to notice the little signs that others might overlook. Perhaps you'll hear a sermon or a message that seems to speak directly to your situation. Maybe a conversation with a friend will give you exactly the wisdom you needed, or perhaps an unexpected event will serve as confirmation that God is opening a door for you. You'll see the hand of God in the small details of your day-to-day life. His presence will be unmistakable, and the signs of his movement will be everywhere. As you become more spiritually aware, you'll also find that your desires start aligning with God's purpose for your life. Your heart's desires begin to reflect his heart for you. What once seemed like a distant dream will start to feel like an imminent reality. You may even experience moments of prophetic insight where you feel that God is revealing pieces of your future, showing you what he's preparing for you. These moments are not just random, they are divine revelations. They are God's way of preparing you to receive what he has already ordained for your life. This heightened spiritual sensitivity is also a key ingredient in discernment. God will give you the wisdom to distinguish between his voice and the voice of the world, to know when something is of him and when it is not. In moments of uncertainty, you will be able to rely on the Holy Spirit to lead you in the right direction. When God is about to surprise you, he doesn't just want you to follow the signs blindly, he wants you to follow them with confidence, knowing that he is leading you every step of the way. You may find that you feel more compelled to pray for clarity or to step back and ask for divine direction before making decisions. This deepening of your connection with God will help you walk into the new season with faith, clarity, and boldness. The greater your sensitivity to the Holy Spirit, the more easily you will recognize the divine opportunities that are unfolding before you. This is God's way of saying, I am with you, and I want you to see the wonders I am preparing for your life. Keep trusting in the process, because the deeper your sensitivity to God's voice, the closer you are to stepping into the surprise that he has been preparing for you. As God prepares to surprise you, one of the most significant signs that something extraordinary is about to happen in your life is the sudden increase in divine favor. You will begin to notice doors that were once closed now swinging wide open. You may experience favor in areas where you least expected, whether in your career, your finances, or your relationships. What was once difficult or unattainable will now seem effortless because God is working on your behalf. His favor is like a force that propels you forward, allowing you to achieve more than you ever thought possible. Divine favor is not something you can earn by works or by merit. It is a grace that God bestows upon those he is preparing for greater things. As he gets ready to surprise you, favor will begin to follow you in an undeniable way. This is not just about receiving blessings, it's about receiving divine attention. God's favor will cause people to notice you, support you, and open doors for you in ways that seem almost miraculous. You might find yourself receiving opportunities or promotions that you never imagined were within your reach. In some cases, people will go out of their way to bless you or help you simply because God has placed favor upon your life. The key to recognizing divine favor is understanding that it's often something that moves beyond the natural realm. You will start seeing results that are disproportionate to your effort or preparation. For example, you might experience an unexpected breakthrough in your finances, even though you've been working hard but struggling to make ends meet. You may find that your influence grows exponentially, even if you never sought to be in the spotlight. It's as if the hand of God himself is guiding people, events, and circumstances to align with your good. This is the favor of God at work. This favor doesn't just show up in material blessings, it often manifests in the form of open doors, opportunities, and relationships that propel you toward your destiny. People who once doubted or overlooked you will now begin to recognize your value, and God will place you in front of the right people at the right time. You may find favor with decision makers, leaders, or influencers who will support you in ways that accelerate your progress. This is God positioning you for the surprises he has in store. His favor will ensure that you are seen and heard, and that your voice carries weight when it matters most. In times of divine favor, you may experience what some would call uncommon opportunity situations that seem like once-in-a-lifetime chances, but they come at exactly the right time, just when you need them. These opportunities might not make sense in the natural, but they are clear signs that God is orchestrating your life. You might be invited to speak at an event or be part of a project that opens up incredible possibilities. You might receive financial resources even when you weren't expecting them. These moments of favor will be unmistakable, and they will serve as clear signs that God is about to reveal his surprise for you. Favor also often leads to a sense of peace and fulfillment, even when you're facing challenges. You might be walking through a difficult season, but God's favor will give you the strength to endure and even thrive in the midst of it. This is not the kind of favor that just eliminates all challenges. Rather, it is the kind of favor that equips you to overcome them. It's the favor that gives you grace when you need it most, a supernatural peace that passes all understanding, even in the face of adversity. God's favor is not limited to what you can see with your natural eyes. It's a spiritual covering that extends over your life, influencing people, circumstances, and situations in ways that you cannot control. This favor will often manifest in the form of unexpected blessings or sudden opportunities that come when you least expect them. For example, you might find that your business begins to flourish when it seemed like there was no hope, or you might suddenly receive a breakthrough in a project you've been working on for months. The things that once seemed difficult or impossible will begin to flow with ease because God's favor is upon you. As God prepares to surprise you, His favor will set you apart. People will begin to notice the difference in your life. While others might struggle, you will experience ease and success. This is not because you are more deserving, but because God has chosen to favor you in this season. His favor will distinguish you from others, and you will see the fruit of His hand at work in your life. The results will be undeniable, and as you step into this new season, you will be fully aware that it is the favor of God that has brought you to this place. When you begin to experience this kind of favor, take it as a sign that God is positioning you for something far beyond your expectations. It is His way of preparing you for the greatness that is about to unfold. When doors open effortlessly and opportunities present themselves unexpectedly, understand that God is moving on your behalf. His favor is setting you up for the surprise of a lifetime. And as you walk in that favor, you are walking into the divine surprises that He has been preparing for you. Trust Him, for the favor you are experiencing now is a clear indication that God is about to do something marvelous in your life. As God prepares to surprise you, you will begin to experience a shift in the relationships around you. The people who are meant to be a part of your life in this next season will start to show up, and those who are meant to be removed will gradually fade away. This divine alignment in your relationships is a powerful indication that God is setting you up for what He has prepared for you. You will notice that certain relationships that were once strained or distant will begin to heal, while others that were toxic or draining will start to dissolve. These changes are not coincidental. They are part of God's plan to bring the right people into your life at the right time. When God is about to surprise you, He often arranges for divine connections to manifest. These are the relationships that will support, encourage, and propel you forward in ways you can't imagine. You may find yourself connecting with people who will open doors for you, introduce you to new opportunities, or offer you invaluable wisdom that will change the course of your life. These divine connections will be clear signs that God is orchestrating your steps. Whether it's a mentor, a colleague, a business partner, or even a new friend, these people will be pivotal in helping you reach your destiny. You will also notice that the people who come into your life during this season will have a positive impact on your mindset, your growth, and your success. They will bring out the best in you and challenge you to reach new heights. These relationships will not just be transactional, they will be transformational. God will bring people into your life who align with His purpose for you. People who understand your vision and who are willing to stand by you as you pursue your God-given purpose. They will speak life into you when you feel discouraged, and they will be a source of strength when you are weak. These are the people who will help you realize that you are not alone on your journey. At the same time, as God works on the relationships that will propel you forward, He will begin to remove those who have been a hindrance or distraction in your life. You might notice that certain friendships or connections begin to fade away. This is not a punishment, it is God's divine pruning. He is clearing the path for what's next. He is separating you from people who no longer serve your destiny or who may be draining your energy and holding you back from stepping into the greatness He has in store for you. This separation, though painful at times, is a sign that God is preparing you for something bigger. It's His way of creating space for the relationships that will add value to your life. You will also experience a deeper sense of discernment in your relationships during this time. You'll begin to feel a strong inner knowing about the people in your life, sensing whether they are meant to be part of your journey or whether they need to be released. God will sharpen your ability to recognize who is for you and who is not. This discernment will allow you to make wise decisions about who to trust and who to keep close. As you become more sensitive to the leading of the Holy Spirit, you'll start to feel a greater peace about the people God is bringing into your life. You will no longer second guess whether someone has the right intentions because God will make it clear to you. The changes in your relationships will also reflect a new season of personal growth. You will find that your ability to relate to others deepens, and you will gain a greater understanding of the people God is calling into your life. You may begin to see familiar faces in a new light, understanding them in ways you never have before. This growth will allow you to show up as the best version of yourself in your relationships, and you will find that your connection with others becomes more authentic, genuine, and purposeful. You will no longer be settling for shallow or surface level interactions. Instead, your relationships will become meaningful and centered around mutual support, respect, and alignment with God's will. In the midst of all these changes, there will be a profound peace that accompanies the divine adjustments taking place. You will feel a sense of comfort knowing that God is in control of the people who come and go in your life. Even when it's hard to let go of certain people, you will feel a deep assurance that God is removing the wrong influences so He can position you for the right ones. And as the right people begin to come into your life, you will feel a renewed sense of excitement, hope, and encouragement, because you know that these relationships are God ordained and that they are part of the greater plan He has for you. As you continue to experience these shifts in relationships, it will become clear that God is preparing you for something greater than what you have already experienced. He is setting you up with the right support system, the right allies, and the right people who will help you fulfill your purpose. So when you see relationships shifting or changing, do not resist the process. Understand that it is God's hand at work, making room for the divine connections that will bring you closer to the surprises He has in store for you. It's all part of His plan to elevate you and take you to the next level in your life. As God prepares to surprise you, one of the most profound signs that something amazing is about to unfold in your life is the stirring of your inner passion and purpose. When you feel an intense, unshakable desire rising within you, urging you to step into something bigger, something greater, this is not just a coincidence. It is a sign that God is waking up something within you that has been dormant for a season, ready to burst forth into your reality. God's surprises are often not just about external circumstances changing, but about stirring up the vision and the drive within you to pursue the things He has set before you. At times we can feel stuck or unclear about our purpose, but when God is preparing you for a divine surprise, you will begin to feel a renewed sense of urgency and excitement about your calling. You might start to feel drawn to areas you've never considered before, whether it's a new career path, a new ministry, a new project, or even a new relationship. These inner stirrings are God's way of moving you out of your comfort zone and into the destiny He has been preparing for you. It's His way of aligning your heart with His purpose so that you can walk confidently in the direction He is leading you. This renewed passion and sense of purpose will often come with a sense of clarity. While before you may have felt uncertain or distracted, now you will begin to see your path ahead more clearly. You will start to recognize the steps you need to take and the goals you need to pursue. It will be as if God is lighting up the way before you, and the fog that once clouded your vision is now lifting. The confusion will start to fade, replaced by a deep confidence in the direction you are heading. This newfound clarity is a sign that God is preparing you for the incredible surprises He has in store, and He is equipping you with the vision and the drive to move forward. In many cases, when God begins to awaken your passion, it will come with an intense desire to learn, grow, and improve yourself. You will feel a compelling urge to step up your game, to sharpen your skills, and to increase your knowledge. You may find yourself drawn to books, courses, or mentors that will help you prepare for what's coming. This thirst for growth and self-improvement is a sign that God is positioning you for something greater. He is calling you to develop your abilities so when the opportunity comes, you are ready to seize it with all that you've got. God knows that the breakthrough He is preparing for you will require your full potential to be realized, so He is nurturing your skills and talents to make sure you can step into the opportunity with excellence. Along with this passion for growth comes a sense of increased energy and determination. You will feel more energized than ever before, as if a fresh wind is blowing through your life, renewing your strength and focus. This surge of energy will propel you to take action in ways that you may have hesitated before. You will feel compelled to push past limitations and face challenges head on, knowing that God is strengthening you for what lies ahead. It will be as though the obstacles that once seemed insurmountable are now being transformed into stepping stones that lead you closer to the surprises God has in store. Moreover, this stirring of your inner purpose will not only be about personal growth, but about the impact you are meant to have on the world around you. You will begin to feel an increasing desire to make a difference, to contribute to something larger than yourself. This is God's way of aligning your passions with His kingdom purpose. As He prepares to surprise you, He is also awakening within you a sense of responsibility to serve others, to use your gifts and talents to bring glory to His name and to be a blessing to those around you. This desire to serve, to create, to build, and to impact the world is a clear indication that God is positioning you for something great. You may begin to see opportunities that align perfectly with your passion and purpose, and as you step out in faith, God will confirm your path. As you pursue your purpose, you may find that the right people and resources begin to show up at the right time, further confirming that you are on the right track. Your passion will begin to attract the right opportunities, and things that once seemed impossible will begin to fall into place. Doors will open in unexpected places, and you will find yourself walking through them with confidence, knowing that God is the one guiding you. At the same time, God will also begin to refine your character as He stirs up your purpose. He will lead you through seasons of testing and growth, preparing you to handle the success and responsibility that come with the surprise He has for you. These seasons may not always be easy, but they are part of God's preparation. He is shaping your heart, your mind, and your spirit to ensure that you are not just ready for the external blessings, but that you are internally equipped to sustain them. The challenges you face will only make you stronger, more resilient, and more focused on the path ahead. As you feel this stirring within you, remember that this is a divine preparation. God is not only awakening your passion, but also making sure that you are ready to walk in it fully. The time has come for you to step into the greater things He has promised, and the passion, purpose, and drive you feel within you are all part of the process. Embrace the excitement, embrace the vision, and step forward with confidence, because as you move toward your destiny, God is already moving ahead of you, orchestrating everything in your favor. Your purpose is being fulfilled, and the surprises He has prepared for you are about to unfold in ways that will amaze you. As we conclude, remember that when God is about to surprise you, He works behind the scenes, orchestrating every detail of your life for His divine purpose. The signs are all around you: the shifting of circumstances, the divine connections, the stirring of your inner passion, and the renewed clarity of purpose. These are not just coincidences, they are God's fingerprints at work, preparing you for the breakthrough you've been praying for. So stand firm in your faith, embrace the changes that come, even if they are uncomfortable. Know that every shift, every sign, and every movement in your life is part of God's greater plan. He is positioning you for something beyond your imagination. The time is now. God is about to surprise you in ways that will exceed your wildest dreams. Keep your heart open, your faith strong, and your eyes on the horizon, because the best is yet to come. Your divine surprise is on its way. There's something powerful God wants to do in your life, but it will require you to make a decision. It's not an easy decision, but it's one that can change everything. You see, many of you are standing at the crossroads of pain and purpose. You've been overlooked, criticized, even mocked by those who doubted you. Some of them might be smiling to your face while hoping for your downfall behind your back. But here's the mystery: God is watching it all. You've prayed for breakthrough. You've asked God, when will it be my turn? And I'm here to tell you your moment of honor is coming, but there's one thing you must do first. The Bible is full of stories of people who were surrounded by enemies, yet they walked into honor because they aligned themselves with God's principles. David stood before Goliath not because he was the strongest, but because he trusted God's timing. Joseph endured betrayal and false accusations because he stayed faithful, and in the end, God raised him up to a place of influence. What do they have in common? They understood that obedience is better than vengeance. Faithfulness is louder than frustration, and humility will always outlast hostility. Let me ask you, how are you handling your enemies? Are you letting bitterness take root, or are you preparing for the blessing? You see, the way you treat your enemies says more about your future than it does about your past. When Jesus said, love your enemies, He wasn't saying it to make your life harder. He was saying it to make your victory sweeter. The one thing that positions you for God to honor you in front of your enemies is this forgiveness. Yes, I said it. Forgiveness isn't easy. It doesn't feel natural. But forgiveness releases God's power into your situation. When you forgive, you shift the battle from your hands into God's hands. And let me tell you, God fights better than you ever could. Think about this. Joseph forgave the brothers who sold him into slavery, and God turned his prison into a palace. Jesus forgave those who nailed him to the cross, and God exalted him above every name. Your enemies may think they've won, but the story isn't over yet. When you forgive, you take the higher ground, and God steps in to lift you up in due time. So I challenge you today, let go of the anger, the need to prove them wrong, the desire to get even. Instead, hold on to the promise that God will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. When you do this, you're not just letting go of the pain, you're making room for the blessing. Your honor is not in their hands, it's in God's hands. And when He honors you, even your enemies will have to admit that His favor is upon you. The question is, are you ready to do what it takes to see His promise fulfilled? Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood yet powerful principles in the journey of faith. It often feels counterintuitive. Why should you let go when the pain caused by others still lingers in your heart? Why release someone who may never apologize or acknowledge the hurt they've caused? These questions are real, and they weigh heavily on anyone who's been wronged. But here's the truth: forgiveness is not about excusing their actions. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of their offense and making room for God to act on your behalf. When you choose forgiveness, you are declaring trust in a higher plan. You're saying, God, I believe you see the injustice and I'm leaving it in your hands. This is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of incredible strength. Imagine standing before the person who betrayed you, lied about you, or tried to bring you down, and instead of harboring bitterness, you choose to release them in your heart. That decision creates a divine shift. What was once your burden becomes God's responsibility. Here's the mystery: when you let go, God steps in. As long as you hold on to the pain and seek revenge, you're trying to fight a battle that doesn't belong to you. But when you release it through forgiveness, you invite God's justice, which is always perfect. His timing and methods may not look like what you expect, but they are far greater than anything you could orchestrate on your own. What makes forgiveness so transformative is that it positions you for blessing. While others are consumed by bitterness or trapped in cycles of vengeance, you are moving forward, lighter and freer. And here's the extraordinary part: God doesn't just bless you in private. He does it in such a way that even those who doubted you, hurt you, or betrayed you cannot deny His favor on your life. This is why forgiveness is more than an act of kindness. It's a strategy for victory. It clears the path for God to honor you, not despite your enemies, but right in front of them. Imagine the scene: those who thought they had the final word are now witnesses to your elevation. This is the power of forgiveness. It's not about forgetting the pain. It's about trusting God to turn it into purpose. Obedience is a word we often underestimate, yet it holds the key to unlocking the honor that God has promised. It isn't glamorous, and it rarely feels rewarding in the moment. Obedience is quiet, often unseen, and sometimes it even feels like a sacrifice without immediate results. But there's something powerful about aligning your life with God's instructions, even when it doesn't make sense. The question is, can you remain faithful when no one else understands why you're doing what you're doing? It's easy to obey when it feels good or when others are watching, but true obedience is tested in the silence. It's tested when you're faced with opposition, criticism, and even betrayal. Imagine Noah building an ark while everyone around him mocked him. There were no signs of rain, no evidence that he wasn't wasting his time. But Noah obeyed not because he understood everything, but because he trusted God's word. This is where obedience becomes the foundation for honor. It shows God that your trust is not conditional on your circumstances or the opinions of others. There's a principle here that cannot be ignored. Obedience prepares the way for promotion. When you choose to follow God's ways, even in the face of uncertainty or hardship, you are positioning yourself for a breakthrough. But here's the twist: God's honor doesn't come quietly. He doesn't reward obedience in the shadows. No, when He lifts you up, He does it in the most unexpected and undeniable way, often in front of those who doubted you. The story of David is a perfect example. He was obedient in the fields, tending sheep when no one saw him, protecting the flock, even when it meant risking his life. His obedience wasn't glamorous, but it caught God's attention. And when the time came, God honored him publicly, anointing him as king in front of his family, some of the same people who dismissed him as insignificant. This is the power of obedience. It sets the stage for God to honor you in a way that cannot be ignored. The very people who once doubted you, criticized you, or dismissed your efforts will witness the result of your faithfulness. They won't be able to deny that God's hand is upon you. But it all starts with a simple question: are you willing to obey, even when it doesn't make sense? Faithfulness is one of the most underestimated qualities in today's world. People often want quick results, instant gratification, and overnight success. But faithfulness is different. It's about staying committed, even when there's no applause, no recognition, and no visible reward. Faithfulness isn't flashy, but it's powerful. And here's the secret: those who remain faithful will outlast every opposition, every critic, and every setback. The question is, are you willing to stay the course when it feels like no one is watching? Consider this: faithfulness is not just about showing up, it's about showing up with the right attitude. Anyone can perform when things are easy, but faithfulness is tested in adversity. Think about Joseph, betrayed by his brothers and thrown into a pit, then sold into slavery. Even in Potiphar's house, where he served as a slave, Joseph remained faithful. And when he was falsely accused and imprisoned, he didn't let bitterness consume him. Instead, he remained committed to his character and his God. That kind of faithfulness is what catches heaven's attention. The beauty of faithfulness is that it creates a foundation that opposition cannot shake. Your enemies may think they're winning when you're in the valley, but what they don't realize is that God is using the valley to prepare you for the mountaintop. Faithfulness is what ensures you're ready when the breakthrough comes. While others are distracted by shortcuts, you're building strength, resilience, and trust in God. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Faithfulness not only sustains you, it silences your enemies. When God decides to honor your faithfulness, he does it in a way that leaves no room for doubt. Think about Joseph again. After years of trials, God elevated him to the highest position in Egypt, second only to Pharaoh. The same brothers who betrayed him had to bow before him, not out of fear, but because of the undeniable evidence of God's favor on his life. This is what faithfulness does. It outlasts the schemes of those who plot against you. It outshines the criticisms of those who doubted you. And when God moves to honor your faithfulness, he doesn't just bless you, he makes sure everyone, including your enemies, can see it. The only question is, are you willing to remain faithful long enough to see the promise fulfilled? Humility is one of the most misunderstood virtues in the world. People often equate it with weakness, passivity, or letting others walk over you. But true humility is far from that. It's a quiet strength, an unshakable confidence that doesn't need to prove itself. Humility is powerful because it positions you for God's exaltation. The real question is, can you stay humble when you're surrounded by pride, arrogance, and the temptation to defend yourself? The challenge with humility is that it doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment. Think about Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. He was the Son of God, the King of Kings, yet he chose the position of a servant. Can you imagine the looks on their faces? They didn't understand it at the time, but Jesus was showing them a secret. The path to greatness begins with humility. It's not about lowering your worth, it's about trusting that God is the one who defines your worth and timing. But let's be honest, staying humble when you're being overlooked or mistreated isn't easy. Everything in you wants to prove your value, to show others that you're not to be underestimated. Yet humility calls you to step back and let God do the proving for you. When you humble yourself, you're saying, God, I don't need to fight this battle. I trust you to fight it for me. That kind of surrender requires strength, but it also opens the door for something extraordinary. The Bible says, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Notice the promise, in due time. This means there's a process involved. Your humility may not be rewarded immediately, but when God moves to lift you up, it will be undeniable. Just look at the story of Daniel. He refused to compromise his values or promote himself, even when others tried to undermine him. And yet God exalted Daniel so highly that even the king who threw him into the lion's den declared the greatness of Daniel's God. Here's the incredible part: when God exalts you, it's not just for your benefit. It becomes a testimony to everyone around you, including those who doubted you or worked against you. Your humility becomes the very reason God lifts you up in front of your enemies. But it all comes down to this: can you resist the urge to promote yourself and trust God to do it in his perfect timing? There's a powerful truth we often overlook. The battles you face are not yours to fight alone. It's natural to feel the urge to take control, to defend yourself when attacked, and to retaliate when others wrong you. But what if I told you that stepping back and letting God fight your battles is the key to victory? The challenge is, can you trust God enough to let go, even when everything in you wants to hold on? Imagine standing in the middle of a storm of accusations or betrayal. Your instinct might be to react, to set the record straight, or to prove your innocence. But the Bible gives us a different perspective. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Stillness doesn't mean passivity, it means faith. It means refusing to lower yourself to the level of those attacking you and instead choosing to trust God's ability to handle the situation far better than you ever could. The problem is, waiting on God's timing is rarely easy. It requires patience and it requires surrender. Think about the Israelites standing at the edge of the Red Sea. Behind them, the Egyptian army was closing in, and in front of them was an impassable sea. Everything in their situation screamed hopelessness, but God gave them a simple instruction: stand still and watch. And as they trusted, God parted the waters, making a way where there seemed to be none. Their stillness allowed God to demonstrate his power. But here's where it gets even more profound. When God fights for you, he doesn't just secure your victory, he uses it as a testimony. Think about David as he faced Goliath. David didn't approach the battle with human strength or strategy, he approached it with faith. He declared, "The battle is the Lord's," and with one stone, God turned what seemed like an impossible situation into an undeniable victory. The same crowd that mocked David watched in awe as God delivered him. This is what happens when you trust God to fight your battles. The very people who doubted you, criticized you, or plotted against you will witness your triumph, not because of your might, but because of God's intervention. And here's the most beautiful part: when God fights for you, the victory is so complete, so undeniable, that even your enemies cannot question his power in your life. The question is, are you willing to release control and trust him to do it his way? Your reaction in moments of adversity reveals more about your future than you might realize. It's not the circumstances themselves that determine your destiny, but how you respond to them. Will you let anger, bitterness, or frustration dictate your actions, or will you choose grace, patience, and faith? This choice, your reaction, holds the key to your elevation. The question is, can you trust God enough to respond in a way that reflects his character, even when everything in you wants to react differently? Life is filled with moments where you are tested by opposition. People may slander you, betray you, or try to undermine you. These moments are painful, but they are also pivotal. Consider Joseph when he was betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery. He could have chosen bitterness, allowing his circumstances to dictate his attitude. Instead, he remained faithful to God, doing his best even in the most difficult situations. His reaction in those moments of trial determined the elevation that was to come. The reality is, when you react with grace and faith, you're showing God that you're ready for more. It's easy to lash out or seek revenge when wronged, but true strength lies in restraint. Think of David when Saul, his enemy, was delivered into his hands. David had every opportunity to take matters into his own hands and end the conflict. Instead, he chose to honor God by sparing Saul's life. That decision wasn't just about morality, it was a test of his readiness for kingship. David's reaction aligned with God's heart, and that alignment set the stage for his eventual elevation. But let's not ignore the tension here. Reacting in faith doesn't mean ignoring the pain or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing to trust God's plan over your emotions. This choice isn't easy, especially when the attacks feel personal or when justice seems delayed. However, it's in these moments of tension that your character is forged. Your reaction becomes a testimony of your trust in God and your readiness for the next level of blessing. Here's where it all comes together. When you choose the right reaction, God doesn't just restore what was lost, he elevates you in a way that silences your enemies. Your response in the fire becomes the reason for your reward. And when God honors you, he does it so publicly and undeniably that even those who opposed you must acknowledge his hand on your life. The question is, how will you react when the moment of testing comes? Imagine for a moment you're walking through a season of intense opposition, betrayal, and criticism. It feels like everyone around you is waiting for you to fail. Yet deep within you, there's a quiet hope, a knowing that this is not the end of your story. You may be wondering, when will my time come? When will I see the breakthrough? Here's where it gets powerful. God doesn't just deliver you in private, he delivers you in front of your enemies. He prepares a table before you, not in the absence of those who doubted you, but in their very presence. The Bible doesn't say that God prepares a table after your enemies are gone or when everyone agrees with you. No, it's in the midst of the struggle, when everything seems uncertain, that God sets the stage for your elevation. Think about the story of David and Saul. Saul sought David's life, and David spent years running, hiding, and facing challenges. Yet, at the appointed time, God delivered David not just from Saul's hands, but into the place of honor that Saul had tried to take from him. The king's table, once a symbol of Saul's rule, became the place where David was honored publicly, right in front of the very ones who had tried to destroy him. This is the essence of God's favor. It's not just about you being blessed in private. God's blessing isn't meant to be hidden away, it's meant to be seen. When God sets the table before you in the presence of your enemies, he's saying, I'm not only blessing you, but I'm also proving my power to those who doubted you. Think about Joseph, who spent years in a pit, in slavery, and in prison. Yet when his time came, God elevated him in front of his brothers, the very ones who had betrayed him. He didn't just get a promotion in secret, it was a public display of God's favor. Those who once saw him as nothing were now forced to bow before the very person they had wronged. Now, you may be asking, how could God use such painful circumstances for something good? It's because the table he prepares for you isn't just a symbol of provision, it's a platform for testimony. When your enemies see God's hand upon your life, they can't help but acknowledge that his power is greater than any weapon they could form against you. It's at that moment when you least expected that God will cause your life to become a living testimony to his greatness, showing that what they meant for evil, God used for your good. This process isn't just about a physical elevation or a material blessing, it's about a shift in the spiritual atmosphere. Your enemies will see God's favor on you, and they will know that it wasn't your own strength, effort, or wisdom that got you there. It was God's hand, his favor, his timing. The table he prepares for you in the presence of your enemies isn't just a place of provision, it's a place where he confirms his promises in your life, proving to the world that he's with you, even in the hardest moments. The question is, are you ready to see God's honor displayed in a way that even your enemies cannot deny? The world tells us that when someone wrongs us, the only option is to get even, to retaliate, or to make sure they understand the hurt they've caused. It's natural to want justice, to see those who have mistreated you face the consequences of their actions. But what if I told you that God has a different strategy? What if the key to true victory is not in revenge, but in love? Loving your enemies is not a passive act, it's a bold, transformative choice that changes everything. The question is, can you love those who have hurt you, betrayed you, or tried to bring you down? Loving your enemies doesn't mean excusing their behavior or ignoring the pain they caused. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen or giving them a free pass. Loving your enemies means choosing not to respond with bitterness or anger. It means deciding that despite their actions, you will not let hate control your heart. Instead of returning evil for evil, you return kindness, patience, and grace. This is where the power lies. It's not about the other person, it's about you, about your heart being aligned with God's heart. Think about the profound example of Jesus on the cross. In his greatest moment of suffering, when those around him mocked him, beat him, and ultimately crucified him, he didn't call down angels to destroy his enemies. Instead, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus chose love over revenge. He understood that love has a power far greater than anything revenge could bring. When you choose to love, especially when it's the hardest thing to do, you unlock a spiritual strength that transforms both you and the situation. This is where it gets truly powerful when you love those who have wronged you. God doesn't leave you empty-handed. Instead, he honors you. He doesn't just give you the ability to forgive. He uses your act of love as a testimony. Imagine being in a situation where someone has done you wrong, and instead of seeking to get even, you choose to respond with kindness. The world may not understand it, and your enemies may be confused, but the impact is undeniable. God uses your love to elevate you, to show that you are not bound by the same chains that hold others captive in bitterness. Loving your enemies doesn't just bring peace to your own heart, it brings glory to God. When you choose love, you are showing the world that there is something far more powerful than revenge, God's grace. And here's the beauty of it in that moment of love, in the moment when you refuse to retaliate, God steps in to honor you. Your enemies may never understand it, but in due time, they will see the blessings that come from loving when they expected anger. Your act of love becomes the very foundation on which God builds your elevation, proving to everyone, especially those who have opposed you, that his ways are higher, his love is greater, and his favor is undeniable. There's a secret to living a life that stands out, one that commands attention, not because of your achievements or talents, but because of your integrity. Integrity is often tested when no one is watching, when it would be so easy to take shortcuts, to bend the rules, or to compromise just a little bit. The world often tells us that success comes through manipulation or deceit, that the ends justify the means. But what if the real path to honor and promotion lies in holding steadfast to your principles, even when it costs you something? Can you maintain your integrity when doing so seems like it's holding you back, when everyone around you is cutting corners to get ahead? Integrity is more than just being honest. It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when it's difficult. Think about Daniel in the Bible. He was taken into captivity as a young man, far from home, in a foreign land, where he had every reason to compromise his faith and principles. The king offered him wealth, power, and status, yet Daniel refused to eat the king's food, not because it was poor or undesirable, but because it went against his convictions. Daniel could have easily taken the path of least resistance, but he chose to honor his God, even when it meant standing alone. This decision was not just a display of discipline, it was a testament to his integrity. Here's the thing about integrity, it's not something that is immediately rewarded. Often when you choose to live with integrity, it feels like you're not getting the recognition you deserve. You might watch others around you succeed through shortcuts and manipulation, and you may wonder, why am I still struggling? But the truth is, integrity has a power that goes beyond immediate rewards. It plants seeds of trust, character, and respect that over time will bear fruit. What's remarkable is that God sees your integrity and He doesn't overlook it. There may be moments when it seems like your choices are leaving you behind, but God is using those choices to set the stage for a greater promotion. Remember Joseph, who was falsely accused and thrown into prison for something he didn't do. His integrity cost him his freedom, but it also set him up for a public display of God's favor. When his time came, God elevated him in a way that no one could deny, not because of his abilities alone, but because of his unwavering commitment to integrity. When God honors you for your integrity, He does so in a way that silences your critics. Those who doubted your methods, who scoffed at your decision to do things the right way, will one day witness your elevation, and they won't be able to deny that your integrity has been the key to your success. Integrity is not just about doing what's right when it's easy. It's about doing it when it's hard, trusting that God will honor your choices in a way that makes the world stand up and take notice. The question is, are you willing to choose integrity even when it feels like it's not paying off right away? Because in the end, it's your integrity that will be the platform for God's honor in your life. There's a truth that many overlook. Your enemies and critics are not just obstacles in your life. They are often the very platforms God uses to elevate you. When you're constantly being pushed down or undermined, it's easy to feel defeated, as though your dreams are slipping further out of reach. But what if I told you that the very people who are trying to bring you down are unknowingly setting the stage for your promotion? The question is, can you see the bigger picture when it feels like everything is falling apart? Take a moment to think about the story of Jesus. His enemies, the religious leaders, the ones who opposed him the most, played a critical role in fulfilling his divine purpose. They didn't realize it, but every time they plotted against him, every time they mocked him or tried to trap him, they were actually fulfilling God's plan for his life. They thought they were undermining his mission, but they were unknowingly advancing it. This is the power of God's sovereignty. What the enemy means for evil, God can use for good. Now, this doesn't mean that we should invite harm or seek out our enemies to make us stronger, but it does mean that we need to shift our perspective. When you're being attacked or when things seem unfair, it can feel like the end. But God often uses those moments to sharpen you, to prepare you for a blessing that you can't even imagine yet. Think about Joseph, who was sold by his brothers, thrown into prison, and forsaken by those he trusted. From the outside, his life looked like a complete failure. But every setback was a setup for a greater purpose. God used his time in prison to prepare him for leadership. And here's where it gets even more powerful. When your enemies see you rise, when they see you elevated in a way they never expected, it's a testimony to the power of God. They may have thought they could hold you back. They may have thought their words or actions would break you, but instead, those very actions became the stepping stones to your elevation. Your rise doesn't just silence them, it proves that God is greater than any opposition you face. This is what it means when God honors you in front of your enemies. He doesn't just elevate you for your own benefit, He does it as a testimony to everyone who doubted you. It's a display of His power and His ability to turn every situation, no matter how negative, into something that brings glory to His name. Your enemies, who once thought they had the upper hand, will witness your promotion and know that it wasn't by your strength, but by God's grace and favor. The key is, will you trust God to turn your struggles into stepping stones and allow Him to use the very people who tried to bring you down to elevate you to the place you were always meant to be? You see, the journey to honor, the path to greatness, is not always about what you do when everything is going smoothly. It's about how you respond when things go wrong, how you rise when others try to pull you down. It's in those moments of challenge, when you choose to trust God, when you decide not to let the actions of others dictate your future, that God begins to elevate you. You may be facing opposition, betrayal, or hardship right now, but remember, God is setting the stage for something greater. The people who once doubted you will soon see the power of God in your life in ways they never expected. Your elevation is not just for you, it's a testimony of God's faithfulness, His grace, and His ability to take what the enemy meant for harm and turn it into your victory. So keep standing, keep trusting, and watch how God honors you, not just in private, but in front of everyone who thought you were down for the count. The best is yet to come, and God's promotion is on the way.